Success isn't just about talent or strategy. It's about the mindset that we carry every single day. What's the vibes, tribe? Welcome back to another webinar for our Dream Small Business Framework and Success. Today, we're going to be talking about how to scale our business or just be successful in our personal and business endeavors. So, this is content for all of my creators. This is for my entrepreneurs, especially my solopreneurs who are aspiring to start a business or who is already in their early growth stages. But generally, this information, this mindset, we can carry and apply in our everyday lives. So do me a quick favor, first and foremost, please embrace this warm thank you for joining me. Namaste. Welcome into all my solos, my creators, and my dreamers and doers. Do me a favor. If you are joining on StreamYard, you got to make sure that you register, right? So you want to head to your email so that you can click on the link to join inside of the studio. Inside the studio is where you get to ask live questions in real time and have them answered, or even make comments and reactions in real time so we can actually engage and talk with one another. Otherwise, you'd be watching this on YouTube, and I greatly appreciate you for joining on YouTube as well. Okay, make sure you do me a favor. I'm trying to grow my channel. Go ahead and click subscribe so that you can join this community and grow with us. Also, if you like this kind of content, you find it useful and valuable, you're going to want to go ahead and click the thumbs up. That lets YouTube know that this content is valuable so that it can reach others as well. And then finally, if you are new to facilitating and hosting events, or you're thinking about doing your own, StreamYard is a great platform to do so. I think it's very user-friendly. I'm very happy that I've made the decision to transfer from Zoom into StreamYard and doing live webinars. And it just go ahead and post the content right on your platforms for you. That's amazing. So we're broadcasting in 2 different spaces currently, on my LinkedIn and then on YouTube. Be sure to follow me, subscribe. And if you're looking to do your own event as well, you're going to want to click the link down in the description box if you're streaming on YouTube, or if you're inside of the studio. You're going to check out the comment section and you're going to click the link in the comment section. If you're new to streaming and you're looking for a way to level up, then go ahead and check out StreamYard's free trial. And then you'll get $10 off for you using my affiliate code. All right. So now that that stuff is out the way, let's get into this conversation around mindset, right? Because we've had a ton of conversations already in regards to the framework of our business, creating our offers, generating leads, creating irresistible content that people want to watch, right? And how to do those things, the important nuances of being able to create consistent and effective communication through content. And also, we talk about building systems around each one of these things, right? So that our business can work for us as we're working in our business, right? But there's also this really important piece that I want to make sure that we're not leaving out. So every now and again, we're going to come back to this conversation around mindset. Today, we're going to have a conversation around how to give you unshakable confidence in your vision of your business or your personal endeavor, how to stay disciplined even when motivation fades, how to overcome fear, doubt, procrastination, imposter syndrome, all these things that come up in the very beginning of building our business or creating something new. We're going to talk into tapping into the creative power at will whenever you need to. And then we're going to talk about how to really create tangible goals for ourselves, how to be realistic, right? There's a lot of information around creating goals. There's a lot of things that we can do in running a business, especially when you're a solopreneur, you're operating in all departments, right? There's so much to do, but what to do? We're going to talk about how to create tangible, realistic goals for yourself, for you, your business, or your personal endeavor, no matter what. Okay. So again, this content is for my entrepreneurs, my content creators, my dreamers, my doers, my artists. And if you have any partners that's like you, entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, or you think they have great ideas and they should run their business, right? Maybe you know someone who makes amazing things and you can't get them to sell their product. You can't get them to start their own business or even have a conversation about it, right? You're going to want to share this content with them. So go ahead and share that registration link. Go ahead and share this content with them so that they can tap in with us, right? Community, y'all. That's what we do here. We build community in Shayna Creates, right? All right. So let's talk about this relentless mindset framework. The very first thing we're going to talk about is discipline. Okay. We absolutely need to foster discipline into our daily habits, especially when we're starting something new. So, what is discipline? Like, what is discipline actually made up of? Well, on my journey, I found that it's very simple. Without this one thing, discipline is very challenging to maintain, to sustain, to keep up with. Okay. Whenever we start something new, that means we are making space by giving less attention to something old and giving more attention to that new thing. And in order to do that over a sustained period of time, and we're not even talking yet about a year, 5 years, or even 10 years down the line in terms of a sustained timeline. I'm talking about 3 weeks, y'all. You know how it says it takes 21 days, right? When you're building something new for it to actually kick in, right? So just say that we're following that frame, right? That time frame. In order to actually be disciplined for at least 3 weeks and beyond that point, we absolutely need to consider being intentional about building new habits around the new thing that we are trying to do. There are small micro steps that happens up to the point where we actually reach our goal or make a major milestone. So it's so important that we are absolutely breaking down, deconstructing, destroying, eliminating, delegating old habits and previous behaviors and actions for new ones. We need to create space and make room for new habits. Okay. So, one thing that has been very important for me in building my business so far, and maybe like, let's just talk about a part of the business. Let's say content, right? So, here we are. We're here, we're watching this piece of content. We're co-creating this piece of content together. And guess what? In order to stay disciplined in doing this, I had to create micro steps and micro habits around this one larger goal. So, some of those steps are prepping the content beforehand, right? Actually looking at the calendar and scheduling out time to create this content, to deliver this content, right? And then additionally, there's the actual execution of the content, right? So there's so many variables that has come up for me, even in just today, for this very moment to be here with you today. So many variables came up throughout this week that could have allowed me to say, you know what, forget it. I don't even think that I'm going to be able to deliver this kind of content on Saturday. In all honesty, I wasn't even sure if I'd be able to be live today. So I wanted to do a pre-recording for you guys, right? And then the pre-recording wasn't able to happen because of the time and the place and the prep that I put into this as is already wasn't working. So I think it's important to talk about this because as we show up here every Saturday at 4 p.m., the things that people never see is the backstory, all of the back end work that takes place to even just deliver this piece of content on its own. Okay. And so we're going to talk about that because we're in this together. Now, because there were so many nuances that stopped me from preparing a recorded piece of content that got in the way of even me being able to send out emails at a particular time, letting you know about this content. This is every Saturday at 4 o'clock. Okay. So 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. For those of you who have showed up, you know that. But for any of the my newer audience, they're not going to know that yet. Right. So the expectation, the level of expectation that I hold for myself and the standards that I hold for myself and how I'm going to show up in my business literally was slipping through my fingers like water this week. Okay. But there's one thing that I knew for sure because I've already committed to this process. And when you are starting something new, you are committing to that process. So you're going to take the same steps. Once you have decided, that means you have made a yes or a no, right? There's no maybe, there's no gray area. This is either a yes or a no that you're doing this thing. But once you have decided that you are doing this thing, it has to get done. Now, whether there's a delay on delivery or not is neither here nor there because the thing still gets done, even if there is a delay on it. It's only if there are absolutely no other pathways, there's no other resources, there's no opportunities or chance to be able to execute on something that we don't get to execute on it. Otherwise, we make it happen, right? So think about a time that you might have been late for work, or maybe you were late for school or a doctor's appointment or an interview, right? Once the time hit, did you turn around and just go back home? And I already know that there are going to be a select number of people that's under 1% that's going to answer yes to this. And that is okay. Right? Because I know the majority of my audience is going to say, no, I didn't turn around and go back home. I didn't stop driving to where I was. I didn't get off of the bus or the train and get on the other side of the platform and just go back home the day that I was late for work. No, you still commuted and you traveled to work, right? You still made it there. Maybe you made it late. There was a delay, but you made it there eventually, right? You executed that. There is an expectation that when you have a shift, you show up for your shift. And even if you are late for that shift, that you continue to show up for that shift, right? You just got to hold your L for being late. But you still made the attempts. You made the attempts to be on time. You made the attempts to get there. You made the attempts to still get there, even beyond the point that you knew that you were going to get there on time. And I say all that to say that we are constantly doing these things. So it doesn't make any difference when we're talking about our business or something that we are trying to create. Okay. We still have to deliver on the expectation. So all of the habits that take place in order for us to show up, in order for us to show up on time, in order for us to show up prepared, is to make sure that we're setting ourselves up for success beforehand. So one important thing that I want to talk about in terms of building unshakable confidence in the vision of your business or in the vision of the thing that you are creating when it comes to building discipline is that you are creating habits that set you up for success for the next day every single day. So for me, for StreamYard, right? I have to go through a whole process again, back end work that you won't see and that you don't know about. I have to go through a process of actually setting up the event, right? And there's nuances and details to that as well. And then I need to send out the emails to let you know that we're going to be live or that there's going to be a recording on Saturday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Then there's the preparation of the content. When do these things happen? These things are happening throughout the week, right? The Monday, the Tuesday, the Wednesday, the Thursday, the Friday. But like I said, sometimes, just sometimes, it doesn't work out the way that we plan. So the intention is there, and that's good. We want to plan out how many things we can do beforehand up until that day, right? So I know that I'm going to go work out tomorrow. So guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to pick out my workout clothes today, or I'm going to do my meal prep for tomorrow today, right? Or I'm going to look up my workout for tomorrow today. If I choose to go to the beach tomorrow, I'm going to pack all of my beach stuff today I'm at least going to start pulling out the swimsuit. I might even try it on, right? To see what I want to wear. What's my mood going to be? I'm going to look up the weather, right? I'm going to look up the route and decide how I'm going to get there. Are the trains doing something funny if I'm traveling by train? So all of these things I'm going to do beforehand to set myself up for success, right? And then I'm going to make the attempt to execute it on the day that it happens. Now, even though or even when all of the habits that set you up for success beforehand doesn't take place, I want you to know that we are still going to do the thing anyway, right? So my intention is to send emails at least 24 hours in advance. I was able to send it 5 minutes in advance. Now, that has stopped me before in the past. So I think it's important to talk about, because it's like, well, there's only 5 minutes left, so I'm not going to send it. Is no, there's 5 minutes left. Let me see what I can get done within the 5 minutes, because this was a part of the preparation for this very moment, right? There's many things that I could do within the 5 minutes, but to eliminate the opportunity to invite you to this session with me would be pointless. Like, it doesn't make sense to not do that. That's important. That's why I'm doing the content. The content is for you, right? I'm sharing the value. So that's important, is that I'm able to invite my guests into the studio with me. Shout out to the one person that's in the studio right now. Go ahead and drop a comment. Let me know that this resonates, or where you're logging in from, right? Or to let you know that you can stream it on YouTube, because maybe you don't have your notifications turned on, and maybe you're not subscribed yet. Make sure you smash that subscribe button for me on my YouTube channel, so that you know when I drop content like this. Hit that notification bell. Maybe you don't have your bell on. So I need to send out this communication, right? I need to talk. Communication is so important. And within that time frame of the 5 minutes, I actually finished in 3. It didn't even take me all of the 5, right? So now I have 2 minutes left to get something more done, right? And what am I going to do within the 2 minutes? How am I still going to set myself up for success, right? So all of the steps that I've prepared first for this very moment, whether I'm living up to the expectation or not, on the very day and the very time. And there are some people who are great at that. Okay. That's not always what makes you a successful entrepreneur or a successful creator or successful in your endeavor. What makes you successful is doing the things, and doing as many things as possible, and doing them daily. Now, the most important part of building unshakable confidence in your vision is doing the thing, something towards that vision every single day, as much as you can, right? So for me as well, it might also be the content that I consume helps me to prepare the content that I'm going to speak about. And I listened to a lot of mindset development this week, and I said, wow, I've taken away so many gems. This is something that I want to share as well. So this is what I'm going to talk about on Saturday at 4 p.m. Now, here's the key. These webinars happen regardless every Saturday at 4 p.m. That is the commitment that I made. There is no going back on that, because I got invited to a wedding. There's no going back on that because it's a nice day. I want to go to the beach. There's no going back on that because I have to take my pet to the vet. Like, I want you to understand that we need to stick to the commitment that we set up for ourselves, because that is going to help us build our confidence. And the fact that we place a day and a time on these things helps us to prioritize it, right? So that we can stay disciplined and hold ourselves accountable to that. So if y'all know that I'm going to be logging on at 4 p.m. every Saturday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, every single Saturday, I know that that is your expectation of me. And there's nothing that I want to do more than to deliver on the value that I promised. So I'm going to show up as well, 4 p.m. every Saturday. And guess what? Because I do that, right? The original concept that we started to talk about here was building content. Because I promise to deliver value every Saturday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, That means every Saturday I have a piece of content to post. That means I have a piece of content that is relevant to my business, that's relevant to your business, or that's relevant to the Dream Small Business Framework. Content is one of the frames inside of the framework, right? Is one of the corners. So I'm setting myself up for success simply because I set a date and a time, and I've dispersed the habits around what it takes to be disciplined in that. The discipline happens because Saturday at 4 p.m., there's an expectation of me and I'm going to show up. If for any reason I cannot show up, you will know about it and you will receive a later date and time in which it will happen because it's still going to happen. I have made that decision. You need to make this decision for yourself about when you're going to do something, whether you're creating a piece of artwork, whether you're creating a piece of content. It is the same. No matter what you're creating in your life, you need a set of habits that support the main goal, and the main goal needs to have a date and a time. Whether you live up to that or not is not important, but the attempt is. Okay. This is how we help ourselves to build unshakable confidence in our vision. So I didn't have a chance to set up my tiny whiteboard because I got home late from the gym today. I didn't have a chance to set up a presentation for some slides to show you this, to show you what I'm speaking about with the relentless mindset framework, right? But my goal is to still sit with you and have a conversation with you on all of these things anyway, regardless of the fact of whether I'm able to write it down or have it on a presentation slide. That's what I'm just wanted to give you a vision that things are muddy and messy, especially as a solopreneur, and that's okay. But it doesn't mean that you don't get to do these things or you don't do these things because it's not the way that you planned it. Perfection has no seat here, only progress. Perfection can't live here. Sorry to all my Virgos. It ain't gonna work out, y'all. It's not gonna work out, okay? My perfectionist out there, this is not what it's about. Every time we think about being perfect, we're thinking about ourselves. So we forget about our audience. We forget about our leads. We forget about our prospects. We forget about our customers. We forget about our clientele. We forget about the people that are waiting for the value that we said that we were going to deliver, that we promised we would deliver on, and still didn't do it yet because we're too busy thinking about ourselves. So the way to build unshakable confidence is to show up anyway. You want to implement discipline. So on the topic of discipline, we want to stay disciplined even when motivation fades. So I want to be very clear that discipline is not a feeling, it's an action. And I also want to be very clear that motivation is a feeling, not an action. Let me say it one more again, a little louder for my people in the back. Listen up, y'all. Motivation will wane and fade and fail you if you are waiting to move and take action by motivation. It's not going to happen. And even when it does happen, it's literally the thumb flick of your lighter that sparks the flame. It's not the flame itself. Discipline, on the other hand, is the flame itself. Okay? Discipline is when you keep your thumb on the lighter and you keep the flame going. Okay? That is the action. The action is holding down that little button so that the flame can burn, baby, burn. Okay? So we don't wait for motivation to move. It's a feeling, and we cannot sustain a free, pleasant, abundant, prosperous, healthy, wealthy lifestyle on motivation or on any emotion. Okay. So even when days that you're sick, on days where you don't feel like it, on days where you're late, on days where you have an attitude, on days where people are getting on your nerves, on days where you're irritated, on days where there's a lot happening in the world and you feel like you just don't even want to be here no more for real. Like you want to disappear. You need a vacation. This ain't going to work out. Okay. I'm tired of hearing about these things. Guess what? Those are all emotions. They're valid. However, They don't generate income in your business. Discipline, however, does, because discipline is action. Again, Saturday at 4 p.m. Every Saturday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for the next year, I've committed to hosting these webinars. What are you committed to for the next 365 days? No matter how you feel. Okay? And obviously, that can go to very high extremes. If you have the flu, it might not work out for you this Saturday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Knock on wood. I hope that's not one of my viewers here. But or if you are tuned in, I appreciate that. You don't feel like it and you do it anyway, right? How many things you don't feel like doing and you do it anyway? Most of my clients that I work with can't stand their jobs. They don't like their work. They don't like their place to work. They don't like their manager. They don't like the environment, the culture. Guess what? 5 days a week, they take themselves there and spend 9 hours a day there. 9 hours a day, 5 days a week. I listen to people tell me about going to a place that they don't want to be and they do it anyway without the motivation. So I say all that to say that we need to get very clear on the fact that it does not take motivation for you to do anything. It is simply the spark of the flame. You actually keeping your finger on the button, right, is what creates the flame. Sustaining the flame itself, pouring on more fuel, giving it more effort, giving it more attempt, improving, investing in a mentor or a coach, right? Creating more content, looking at your schedule and actually executing on even these small things, like you looking at your schedule and typing in what day that you're going to do something is you working on your business. That is the discipline that it takes because that's a part of the process. But sitting here and waiting to feel better, like the time is right, it's not going to do it, y'all. So, emotions aside, discipline is the actual action, the actual habits that you need to execute in order to get to the larger goal. Now, I want to shift a little bit because we're going to now talk about something else that happens and builds a skill set, a soft skill set that we need, right? Mindset. So these are mostly all soft skills, okay, that you need as an entrepreneur or a creator in your life. A creator in your life, y'all. We talking about business, but at the same time, the way we do one thing is really how the way that we do everything, okay? And then if we're not, then we're inconsistent and we probably would work out better if we were doing the things that work out really well over here if we were doing it over there. So the next thing that the soft skill that we get to build for a relentless mindset, right? This is the framework we're talking about today, relentless mindset framework. So the next soft skill that we develop and that we need when we're running a business or creating something new, right? A new intention in our life is going to be resilience. So it is so important to address that there are going to be things that happen in your business or happen in your life or happen in just specifically your work process that might provoke some emotions such as fear, such as doubt, such as procrastination, such as shame, such as guilt. There are going to be these things that come up, like things aren't going to work out your way all the time. That's not why we're doing this. And failure, right? We want to overcome our fear of failure because the only time that we actually fail, another conversation I had earlier this week, so it's showing up here just to make sure that, and that you're addressing this with your audience as well, is that the only time we actually fail at something is when we don't do it at all. That is the only way you could fail at it. So if you intend to start your business if you intend to buy a new car or a house, if you intend to get back to your artwork, every time you might have that intention in your mind, but you don't take any physical action or physical steps towards it, that is failing. Now, when you start to take the action steps towards it and you're working in your business and something doesn't work out, that is not failure. The only thing that is feedback. It's another F word. Okay? Failure is a perception that we need to reframe frameworks, right? We need to reframe failure. Let me know in the comment box, either on StreamYard or on YouTube, whether we want a framework to reshape failure in our minds. Mindset is so important, y'all. Mindset is so important because what you believe is what shows up. Okay. What you believe is what will show up in your experience. So it's really important that if you're scared of failing in your business, that we reshape and reset your mindset so that you can actually take steps accordingly to be successful in your business. Because on the other side of failure is what? What's the other side of failure? Starts with an S, hits you with success. Okay. Shout out one time, Veronica. Appreciate you being in the room. No worries. We were just talking about being late a little while ago. Okay. We were just talking about that a little while ago, right? Sometimes we're late, but we're still in motion. So we're still on the way. So we end up executing anyway. That is discipline. Appreciate you. All right. So yes, thank you so much. So on the other side of failure is success. So guess what we get to do when we attempt to do something that doesn't work out? We get to learn our lesson. Okay. L ain't for loser, baby. Okay. Well, you could take your loss, right? You might have attempted to do something that didn't turn out the way that you wanted. That could be a loss. We're going to take the L, as they say. Okay. We're going to take the L for that. And taking the L doesn't mean that we're only accepting the loss. We also want to accept the lesson. What did you learn from it? So when I first started my storefront for my Etsy shop, where I sell a majority of my gym wear, right? Because I'm a fitness instructor. When I first started it, I was like, oh, this is amazing because it's a print on demand storefront. So that means people get to go to my clients get to go to my Etsy shop. They get to make the purchase through Etsy. My print on demand company produces the product and then they also ship it to them. I don't have to hold any inventory. Absolutely incredible and amazing, especially coming from a space where you had to hold inventory to sell it physically. You have to keep it in your household in a basement, boxes stacking up, all kinds of things that you're not selling, all of this mess. This was a amazing upgrade to e-commerce, right? But guess what, y'all? So 4 times a week, I see around 60 people in class, okay? Or at the gym, let's say, 4 times a week. And out of those 60 people, when they see that I come in and I have a new shirt, right, that has my brand on it, or if I let them know that I have new t-shirts that have that's a part of the brand or a part of the class, they want it, right? So out of the 60 people now, I can say that my plan is to convert at least 10 of the 60, at least. Okay. So that means that I should be able to sell 10 shirts from Etsy. But guess what happened on my first time, y'all, selling shirts in a class? So I had more than 10 people that wanted to purchase a shirt. Wow. My expectation was 10. I had about 15, 20 people that wanted to purchase a shirt. But guess what? Instant gratification kicked in. Do you have any shirts on hand? No. I only have 4, y'all. And I sold the 4 already that I had on hand, which was only a few sizes anyway. I think I was actually left over with one size because there was no one to fit it. And I didn't have any shirts to sell on hand. So I said, that's okay. You could just buy it from my Etsy shop. Had a QR code set up and everything for them. No, I don't like to put my information online. I don't want to have to enter my credit card details. Now, this wasn't all of the people, but this was a percentage of the people. There was a population of people who wanted to purchase what I have right then and there. I didn't have enough physically. I only had 4, sold 3, and nobody could fit the 4th. Okay. Everyone else was like, well, they got their 4 or 3. What about me? You can order it online. I don't want to order it online. I thought you had more here today. Or you gotta, okay, never actually placed the order because I wasn't there to take orders either in person. So I wasn't processing the orders either. My expectation was is that, oh, you could just click this QR code and do it yourself. I didn't realize that my audience, a half of them that were interested in purchasing the product, didn't even know how to enter their credit card information, didn't even know what a QR code was, nor how to scan one, didn't know nothing about Etsy and putting in all this information. They usually have their kids or their grandkids help them do it. I wasn't prepared for that, y'all. I would have easily converted cash on hand had I brought a bulk of shirts with me to sell and purchase. So, what did I do? I sold what I could. I took the L for the I took the loss for what I know I could have accomplished had I done XYZ. And then what? Did I stop selling merchandise? Did I take down my storefront because more people didn't buy that day than the people who did buy? No, y'all. The one thing I did was make sure I had more on hand physical shirts with me, especially when they were new, right? Got this new hot shirt. Look, I'm wearing it and I got a few on me. It's scarce, right? So I have a scarce number. I'm limited. So whoever wears a size small, medium, large, extra large, this is what I have today. And if you would like to place an order, you can place an order, right? And if you can't place an order, you need help, well, give me 5 minutes. I'll help you off at the side then. Or if you don't want to input your card information or your details, a lot of people are skeptical about putting their information in nowadays, y'all, right? Because everybody's getting scammed, phishing, catfish, all kinds of fish out there in the sea, right? We're getting hooked in things that we don't want to. So there are actually more people who are unwilling to give you their information, especially when you're not in a brick and mortar, when you're just making a transaction. And I believe that that's going to change. Another conversation for another day. But I say all that to say is that now it wasn't failure, it was feedback. It opened up multiple pathways for me to think about. I actually want to consider having product on hand. I want to consider having an easy, seamless process for people who can and are willing to process online right then and there, process right then and there. And then I'm also open to a pathway where I just take all of the information of the details of which color, what size that you want, and give you the expectation of when you can expect it. And I'll bring it to you myself physically. You still gotta wait, but I'll do it myself. I realize that people don't want to wait when they do it on their own, but they'll wait if you do it for them. Y'all, I needed for people to say no to me in the beginning so that more people can say yes later on because there's options. They're not just this one pathway. I have multiple options. And when you have multiple options for people, then they can choose which one is best for them. They can make a decision, and the decision helps to conversion, AKA moolah, right? You get the money, you get the bag. So I say all that to say that fear of failure has to go. This imposter syndrome of all of these emotions that come up, emotions, right? We already talked about motivation being one, and emotion, and the motivation tends to be on the higher end of the vibrational spectrum, right? The higher end of the scale. Like motivation feels good. It feels good when you're pumped up to do something new and you're confident, like you can do this thing, and then it leaves. The same thing happens with fear, doubt, procrastination, right? Shame, guilt, and insecurity, all of these other uh emotions can come up too. All of these other feelings can come up too. They're all impostures. Let me tell you something. What you have, the value that you have to deliver to your audience, to your customers, to your clients, the people that are already waiting for you to do it, and even if you haven't done it yet, or maybe you're just starting to do it, whatever have you, everybody is waiting for you. Every time that you start to think about yourself, I'm going to keep saying this because this is a part of eliminating imposter syndrome. Is the first step is awareness, is that you're having these feelings. I feel fearful, I'm feeling doubtful, I'm feeling unconfident, I'm or that you're acknowledging your actions. I'm procrastinating and delaying this process of posting my content. Every time these feelings come up and we become aware of that, that's great. That's the first step. We just became aware. Now we need action. We need to regulate our nervous system, right? If we're having a visceral reaction that we can feel in that moment, we need to regulate our nervous system through breathing, like somatic breathing, to calm down. And then we need to come back to our audience. Our clients are why we do this. Our students are why we do this. Our mentees are why we do this. The people that we are leading is the reason for us even doing any of this, right? Fine, let's say you want to create on your own. Maybe you just want to get back into the habit of creating again. I also draw. I've fallen off from drawing, the bandwagon of drawing several times throughout my life. Okay. So, and it feels good when we want to do it and pick that up again. Like you're in that moment of motivation, and then it's like, oh, but what if I can't sell anything? Or maybe you want to create for yourself and you're really hard on yourself. You're a hard critic on yourself about your creation, right? That perfectionism, again, it's all imposter syndrome. And every time we make it about ourselves, that creates a block for us to not do the thing. Writer's block happens each time a writer doesn't sit down in front of their page, right? And sometimes even that doesn't, it feels like, well, I did that and I still didn't write anything. That is, sitting down is still a part of the process. It's not always about the destination, it's about the journey. So the nuances that need to happen in between is eliminating imposter syndrome altogether. It needs to go. And to make it about your audience so that you can stay disciplined in your craft. Okay? Imposter syndrome needs to go. And that's a process on its own. But there is the first step of awareness is when it comes up. The second step is to take an action. That the next action may need to be that you regulate your nervous system. That needs to happen. If you are having a physiological response to one of these vibrations that come up that's delaying you from taking action, we need to deal with that ASAP. And the more that we practice and do this, y'all, not only the lesser of the chance that it comes up, but also the quicker that you get out of it so that you can get back to what's important, what matters, which is delivering the value to your audience and to your clients and to your customers. Okay. So we regulate our nervous system. And then guess what? We take the next smallest action to get to the main goal. We just take the next smallest action. Maybe that's reaching out to someone. Maybe that's putting the post in your drafts. Maybe it's scheduling the post, right? Sometimes it's hard to hit the publish button. I've worked with clients where they have a hard time even hitting post, share, or publish because of the fear that they have of people perceiving them once they post content. Okay. So one of the actions, the small action steps that I've been able to help people take to address this is to schedule their content instead. They don't actually need to press publish in the moment, right? They still need to press schedule though. So they can hit the schedule button and know that it's already going to go up without them having to have the extra pressure in that moment. So what is the next step that you can take? Is not the whole picture. Sometimes it's really just the next step, that the small steps leads to big wins. All right. So the next step in our relentless mindset framework is really knowing how to tap into our creativity at will. And I'll probably do content on this as well. Let me know if you want to do if you want to see content on how to create at will. So this is creating an offer, This can be creating a pathway to more leads. This could be creating content. This can be creating a piece of artwork. This could be creating new intentions in a relationship. Let me know if you want to see content on how to tap into your creative power at will. But what I will say in this very moment about this is that you can. You can tap into your creative power at any given moment in time. One of my favorite techniques in doing this is visualization. Okay. Now, I consider this an actual meditation. Sitting with intention for 5 to 20 minutes on a particular topic and actually envisioning how you want that thing to go is you tapping into your creative power. And it's the first step. Even if you do nothing else around this, it will help you reach a major milestone to your goal. Like, for instance, once again, I was not able to prepare fully how I wanted to show up today. My attempts to show up today, it didn't happen the way that I planned it to throughout the week. You know, one of the biggest obstacles I had was something was up with Mamba. I have a 90-pound dog here, y'all, and so when something happens to a 90-pound dog, it's a 90-pound problem. All right, sometimes it's double that. So we had a lot of things to figure out with the week. Throughout the week, she needed a lot of attention, and that blocked me from doing particular things, right? Of course, in larger design is really for me, right? So it wasn't happening to me, it was happening for me the same way it is for you. Same thing, y'all. So the obstacles are the way. That's a good book by Ryan Holiday, by the way. Obstacles are the way. So even though I didn't have a chance to prepare my notes for my tiny whiteboard or to set up for the tiny whiteboard, I didn't have the opportunity to create presentation slides, which was going to be my backup, even though I didn't have time to do a pre recording because I didn't know what was going to happen today. And I had a long week. None of that stuff happened. So I had to tap into another type of creativity, right? And that could be just as simple as sitting in front of your camera and having a conversation, right? I have my notes here and I'm also just flowing. Like I have some notes, but I didn't get to do anything that I intended to do this week, y'all. All right. And so I'm really going with the flow and being like water. And sometimes we have to do that. And in order to not allow obstacles to get in our way, right? In order to break through the obstacles, we need to be more creative. We have to tap into our creative power. When we can't do a particular thing one way, we try to do it another way. We find an alternative. There has to be another solution, but we can only see a solution when we open up our mindset to the possibilities or to even the idea that there is another way, right? So, man, I'm not going to be able to do this particular thing the way that I wanted to, but what can I do so that I still show up on my promise? This is what I promised to myself. This is what I promised to y'all. Saturday, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Okay. Creativity. Now, this may not feel super creative, but y'all, I creativity is in the eye of the beholder, okay? Me getting my little background up and running, me setting up descriptions and emails and making sure that that gets out to you and preparing whatever notes that I could, like that was creative. So just hear me out. So the way to tap into this, right? I talked about visualization and actually seeing this because it's one thing to be in the emotion of, man, nothing's working out the way that I planned, nothing's working out the way that I wanted to, and for it to just keep spiraling with that. Or you can shift your mindset and what other opportunities do you have? So I knew I wouldn't have the opportunity to do any of the other things that I mentioned earlier, the tiny whiteboard, the presentation slides, any of that. It's not necessary for this anyway, so that's great. So, but what I was able to do was on the bus ride home was to sit and envision what needed to be discussed today based off of the conversations that I had earlier this week. What am I going to deliver to y'all? So these conversations that we're having right now is conversations that already took place. They already have been in motion throughout the week. Me talking to clients, me speaking with prospects, me just speaking one-on-one with people and making offers, because I'm realizing, like, man, you can tap into your creative power at any given time and space. Okay, so someone that I speak with regularly as a kin sounded like she needed coaching, right? And I realized that I was kind of coaching. She was asking questions and I was delivering answers and things were resonating. I said, hey, would you like to actually do a trial with me and actually kind of see what this is like? Let's set up a discovery call and talk a little bit more to see how I can help you, right? Oh my gosh, she was so elated and so grateful that I offered. That I made an offer, y'all, because we still have to make offers, right? And it was in the moment where she was speaking, and I thought to myself, well, what would I say to a potential client, right? What would I say to my prospect that I would have on a discovery call and sit down and have this kind of conversation with? We're not sitting down in front of a camera and having this conversation right now, but this is still the same interaction. It's still one-on-one. There's still communication being exchanged. I could just present this offer right now. And so tailoring that conversation creatively led me to a potential client. Okay, that's scheduled in this upcoming week. Of course, none of that to say is for bragging rights. I'm literally giving y'all the framework of how this works. When people are speaking directly to you and you're in exchange and communication, you can create the opportunity to make an offer. When things are not working out the way that you expected, you can dwell on the fact that that's happening, or you could shift your mindset to be more relentless in finding a solution, because there's always an alternative. Some people like the saying and some people don't, but it resonates for me that rejection is redirection. So one idea gets rejected for another. Okay, and that has its purpose, because we're going to receive feedback. We're not failing on the vehicle of how we're trying to deliver a thing or how we're trying to get ourselves to a thing. We're receiving feedback so that we can implement the feedback in another way. Make sense? All right, I need some reactions. Let me know, y'all, if this is making sense, especially my people that's in the studio. You have direct access to this conversation, whereas the ones on YouTube do not. I just want to know that some of this is hitting for you. Okay. So whatever resonates, take it. Apply that first. We don't got to do it all. I want you to take what resonates and apply that now. Okay. And leave everything else, and you get to come back to this content later on my YouTube channel. All right. So the very last point that I have, I'm so proud of myself. I'll tell you, I'm going to remind y'all of the one goal that I have every Saturday as well in a second. Okay. The last point that we have to go over is to keep going until your dreams are achieved, no matter what. You know what that's called? We talked about discipline. We talked about resilience, right? Over fear, over doubt, procrastination, over failure, all of these imposter syndromes. We have resilience when things don't work out. We find another way, creativity. The very last thing, y'all, is persistence. We need to keep going until our goals are achieved, no matter what. So I've mentioned this earlier. There are extremes to this, right? So I might truly intend to deliver content every Saturday at 4 p.m. Does that mean that that'll happen for the next year? No, it doesn't. Things come up, things happen, right? There might actually be an emergency. There might actually be a physical block that stops me from you seeing this content at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Saturday. But does that mean you will never get to this content at all? No. You'll probably get it on a Sunday, or you'll get it on a Tuesday, or we would reschedule. We're going to get to it, right? You're going to get to it no matter what, because you are committed. You are committed. You are disciplined. You are aware of when imposter syndrome comes up to say, get thee behind me. There is no space for you here. This message is about my audience, and I'm going to deliver this value to them because that is their expectation and that is the standard that I hold up to myself, that I am impeccable with my word, that I have integrity, and that I'm going to show up as I said that I will show up as soon as I can, with the high expectation that I'm holding of myself and that my audience and clients are holding of me as well. Nothing is going to stand in my way because obstacles are the way. Everything on the path is for you. It is not happening to you. And the time is now, y'all. With persistence specifically, the time is now. We don't persist later, we persist in the moment. So after we jump off of this call, what are you going to do next? What is your next step that you can actually do consistently, right? I said daily earlier. If daily is not possible, consistency looks like weekly, consistently looks like bi-weekly, consistency looks like monthly, nothing more. You have to do something this month. Each time we let now pass, sure, there's another now moment until there is no more now moments. Again, we're assuming that YouTube will remain an open source platform where you could just post your content for free. That might change, y'all. So if you ain't start your channel yet, if you ain't launch your content, or you launch your content, you're not making consistent content, you are doing yourself, your business, and your audience a disservice, because your content will be evergreen, live on forevermore if you just publish it, if you just post it. But we're waiting because we're experiencing imposter syndrome. We're waiting because we're not waking up early enough to get this part of the job done, but we're going to work for our 8 to 5, even though we know that that's not going to make us wealthy. That's not going to make us abundant or free or prosperous. And we're doing that thing anyway. We're not waiting for motivation because we know motivation is a feeling that we either induce or it's a spark, but it doesn't stay. We're not waiting because we don't have the confidence now. We understand that the confidence happens over time from doing the thing over and over again. That's how you get confident. Michael Jordan wasn't confident as confident as he was his very first game, as he was in game 6 or his very last game. I guarantee you that. Kobe Bryant, any of the greats. I'm obviously in my basketball mood right now. Shout out to Aaron Judge, right? Yankees are doing horrible, but whatever. That's another story. Look, discipline and be consistent. Resilience. Be relentless in pushing that imposter to the back and you taking up space in the front, delivering value to your audience who's waiting for it. And then persist through the challenges, persist through the obstacles, persist through the insecurities and the uncertainties, right? Connect with your coach for help. Get a mentor. Talk to your community of people who are like-minded. I need you to get a community of people who are doing the thing or who are the people that you want to be like or are already doing the thing. We go further and faster together. So we want to surround ourselves with other entrepreneurs, with other creatives, with other solopreneurs, with other people who are wanting to execute on their potential, so that we get to hold ourselves accountable and they get to hold us accountable the same way. I have traveling friends, and almost everybody needed to renew their passport this year. I'm also one of them. Okay. I have 3 people that already renewed their passport. And guess what? They just asked me a couple days ago, hey, Shay, did you renew your passport yet? Because they know that I want to do the same thing. My traveling friends are going to hold me accountable to traveling and making sure that I'm prepared. Right? So it's the same thing in our business, y'all. The way we do one thing is the way that we do everything. So I need you to show up for yourselves. And when you show up with everything that you got. Show up and deliver what you have. It does not need to be perfect. Give what you have now. Give what you know now to your audience. Show up for them. You show up for them, you'll show up for yourself every single time. There's no failure, there's only feedback. And even if there was failure, on the other side is success. And if you failed, then you're definitely going to hit success, because once what goes up must come down. That's how it works. That's life. 1 minute over. I'm proud of myself. The goal that I have, as well as having a webinar every Friday, every Saturday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, is to deliver in the time frame that I planned. And my plan was to deliver in 60 minutes, and I've done that. I'm a minute over, but that's okay. Now we're just chit-chatting. I need you to do me a favor real quick. First and foremost, I need you to make sure that you're checking your inboxes for what I have to deliver. Secondly, I need you to make sure that you're here every Saturday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, because we're going to have a webinar every Saturday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And if for any reasons you cannot show up inside of the studio where you get to engage with me live, then you can stream it on YouTube. So I need you to head over to my YouTube channel, Shayna Creates. I changed it, y'all. You'll have that in your email as well. I'm rebranding because I got my LLC. So it's Shayna Creates Everything. Okay. No, that's not the handle. The handle is Shayna Creates. Shayna, my first name, Creates, all one word. I need you to subscribe to my channel so that you can go and play this back when you need it. Okay, or in case you miss it, you could go and watch all of my webinars on my YouTube channel. Okay. Don't forget that if you're looking to host your own event as well, that StreamYard is giving a $10 discount if you use my affiliate code. And then I have some other fun links that are going to be left in the description box down below on my YouTube channel as well for you to opt into. All right. And with that, my friends, I will see you next week. Same time, same place. Peace.